will focus on OneTaste doctrinal and ritual system. My central argument is that orgasmic meditation, here on will be OM for everybody, it's intelligible only within this broader philosophical system. Eros provides its ontology, attention is its principal discipline, and the OM container, one ritual from form through which practitioners cultivate embodied perception. OM occupies here a privileged place in OneTaste, but it is neither compulsory nor coextensive with the movement's spiritual path, as we will see. The material I draw on includes the Nicole Daedone's 5-volume Eros Sutras, OneTaste and the Institute of OM training material, and interviews with practitioners, coaches, and individuals close to the OneTaste milieu. I am interested principally in the system's internal logic, the vocabulary practitioners use to understand their practice, the bodily knowledge the practice aims to cultivate, and the forms in which that knowledge is organized. The most fully developed formulation of this framework appears in the Eros Sutras. Rather than a creed or systematic theology, the 5 volumes offer a contemplative, often non-linear language for embodiment, desire, relationship, attention, power, creativity, and liberation, among other things. Their aphoristic sensory style is itself significant. Daedone presents the sutras as teachings capable of awakening recognition already latent in the body. They presuppose an epistemology in which knowledge emerges from cultivated sensation, relational participation, and attentive contact with experience. So, Eros is the organizing principle of this worldview. Although sexual desire may express Eros, the term designates a broader impersonal force of life, that is, the movement that animates bodies, draws people into connection, and opens perception to beauty, intimacy, creativity, and transformation. This broader conception moves OneTaste beyond a narrow focus on sexuality. Eros may become perceptible in all situations, including friendship, work, conflict, artistic creation, and ordinary encounters, wherever attention allows a person to register the vitality and demands of a relational field. So the body, therefore, holds both an epistemological and a spiritual position. Sensation, intuition, desire, and relational attunement provide information about the self, others, and the surrounding environment. This way, understanding emerges from the interaction among bodily perception, emotional experience, and mental organization. The practitioner seeks enough precision to notice subtle shifts, enough spaciousness to embrace complexity, and enough stability to remain present when experience becomes intense. Spiritual development is conceived as a descent into embodied and relational life rather than an ascent away from vulnerability, sexuality, or emotion. This orientation is also expressed in the sutra's language of masculine and feminine polarity. These terms denote positions on a spectrum rather than biological sex or conventional gender roles. The masculine pole is associated with form, linearity, abstraction, and control, while the feminine with receptivity, embodiment, interiority, relationality, and non-linear perception. Daedone understands the path of Eros as a feminine corrective to religious and cultural traditions that have privileged transcendence over immanence, and presents this framework as available across sex, gender identity, and sexual orientation. Within this framework, desire is a sensory capacity that requires cultivation. It can orient a person toward connection and self-knowledge, though it may also be filtered through fear, scarcity, compensation, or social conditioning. The capacity to distinguish these movements is central to discernment. OneTaste does not equate liberation with the spontaneous expression of every impulse. Its ideal is the erotic mind. This is an integration of bodily knowing with the mind's organizing capacities, allowing a practitioner to remain receptive to sensation and relational influence without suppressing experience or being governed by it. The opposing condition in this framework is called tumescence. Daedone expands the ordinary meaning of swelling to describe congestion in erotic and relational life. Experiences, emotions, sensations, or desires that have not been digested are understood to accumulate in the body and mind, taking forms such as shame, resentment, comparison, compulsive control, addiction, or disconnection. So the tumescent mind seeks safety in rigidity and fixed identity. Its goal-oriented variance, that is climax consciousness, anticipates a future moment of discharge or completion and thereby loses contact with present experience. So attention is the discipline through which this congestion may be recognized and transformed. The sutra's action that all is perfect with room to evolve places practice within a reality that is dynamic and interdependent rather than fundamentally defective. Perfection here does not deny harm, suffering, or conflict. It asks the practitioner to approach what is present before reducing it to failure or attempting to control it immediately. Daedone calls this posture approval, that is, a trained willingness to perceive a situation directly so one can discern what the moment, the relationship, or what she calls the relational third may be asking. The ethical vocabulary of lawless laws stems from the same premise. Eros is understood to possess an order that cannot be fully codified in external commandments. Ethical action depends on perceptual and relational competence, recognizing the effects of one's conduct, assuming responsibility, and responding adequately to the whole field. This philosophy can be practiced through courses, communication exercises, meditative disciplines, creative work, relationships, and communal life. These are opt-in arenas for cultivating attention, desire, consent, receptivity, and responsiveness. In this framework, Om is the most distinctive and formalized of these expressions, but it is neither the only way of putting this philosophy into practice nor a required one. So let's go to the clitoris. Om is a partnered practice in which a stroker gently strokes the clitoris of a strokee for 15 minutes while both attend to the point of contact and their own sensory experience. The standard presentation pairs a man and a woman, with the woman as the strokee, though a woman may also take the role of stroker. The participants may be partners, friends, or neither. They cannot know each other, and the practice does not establish a romantic or sexual relationship between them. Within OneTaste ontology, Om is not sex nor foreplay. Genital touch is present, but the activity centers on meditative attention rather than sexual exchange, arousal, or climax. Each participant attends simultaneously to an internal field of sensation and to the other's shifting perceptions. Interviewees, in my interviews, have repeatedly located Om's significance in this shared discipline. They described learning to recognize their own sensations and desires with greater precision and to become more able to listen, make adjustments, and sense what another person or a wider situation might require. Om thus gives bodily and relational form to the sutras account of attention, approval, and the pitch-perfect response. And more importantly, for that work to be possible, the practice is governed by detailed rules intended to ensure clarity, safety, and communicative precision for both participants. The container sets the duration at 15 minutes, excludes reciprocation and additional sexual or romantic activity, keeps the stroker clothed, limits the stroke's undressing to the lower body only, and requires explicit verbal notice before physical contact. The form, on the other hand, regulates positioning, the technical stroke, requests and offers during the session, and the brief sharing of concrete sensory observation afterward. So either participant may stop at any time. These parameters constitute the practice rather than merely surround it. Clitoral stroking outside the standardized container is not Om. Formalization separates the encounter from the expectations ordinarily attached to sex and creates a bounded setting where contact, time, consent, and communication can be repeatedly examined. Om, therefore, belongs to a broader family of bodily techniques that, through repetition, ritual demarcation, and interpretive framing, become disciplines of self-cultivation. Its goallessness is especially important. Om has its purposes, but it does not prescribe a sensory outcome. Climax may or may not occur, and neither outcome defines success in the activity. Participants remain with sensation as it changes, without converting it into achievement, performance, a fantasy, or a story about where the experience should live. This directly counters climax consciousness or tumescence and rehearses the erotic mind's capacity to stay in contact with intensity without rushing toward discharge. Then consent is similarly treated as a continuing attentional practice. Training begins before participants undertake Om. There is a training with exercises in identifying desire, making simple requests, receiving yes or no's, and tolerating refusal without collapsing or retaliating. Women interviewees often linked this work to learning to recognize and articulate desires they have been socialized to disregard. On the other hand, men frequently describe the stroker role as a discipline in receptivity and listening. And across genders, practitioners reported changes in setting limits, communicating emotion, perceiving interpersonal atmospheres, and understanding recurring relational patterns. So their accounts situate Om within a project of ethical and relational formation, with effects expected to extend into ordinary life. OneTaste, therefore, can be understood as a contemporary spiritual movement organized around training attention through embodied relational practice. Eros names a force of vitality, perception, creativity, and connection. The sutras provide the philosophical grammar for interpreting that force, and Om offers a concentrated optional ritual technology for learning to perceive and respond. So, in conclusion, its distinctive project is to construct a world in which Eros becomes a comprehensive spiritual principle, attention becomes a discipline of knowledge and ethics, and the body becomes a site for learning to encounter oneself and others. Thank you.